Welcome, everybody, to Casey Happy Hour episode, big number 50 here this week. My name is Xander Clements, your guys' host. We are back to cover a little bit of everything that's gone down in the karting scene over the last 7 days. Last time we were on here, we were previewing the U.S. Pro Kart Series event at Road America. Inspired a little bit of change going into the event, which was cool. And we've got a lot of news to bring out and a few returning guests here. We'll go ahead and bring on our normal cast and crew. We've got Dalton Haynes joining us, who is on the camera this week, sporting some of our new merchandise. You can check that out on the website. Dalton, good to have you back as always.
You too.
Emery Lida was in action on the racetrack. He actually got to test out the access road that we'll talk about a little bit later this week, but an up and down weekend. How you doing, bud?
Doing all right. Kind of disappointed from this weekend, but, at least I got to try something fun, something we talked about on the podcast, and it was interesting. It was a fun weekend.
A little bit different. Of course, my partner in crime, Aaron Hackmeister, is here from a little different studio, but also in uniform. Appreciate that, Aaron.
Tried my best.
Yeah, not too bad. And, of course, this week, it would be remiss if we didn't bring some of our regular drivers on back to the show. So we'll have a few of them joining us here in just a moment. Actually, Aaron, if you want to go ahead, we can bring them on into the studio as my I just lagged there for a second. But anyway, we've got Brandon Jarsocrak for Brandon Jarsocrak Racing, and Mike Doty Racing is here. Put on the team owner hat by himself this weekend. First time international with 10 guys. Your weekend, good, bad? Where'd you rate yourself?
I thought it was pretty good. We got one win, a bunch of podiums. Should have had a few more wins, but those ones didn't work out. But it was definitely fun but challenging weekend for me.
And we got a couple winners joining us here too. Ryan Norberg, 6 for 6 in USPKS competition. Good to have you back after what seems like almost a year since you've been back on the show. You know, it's been a while.
It's not been that long, but yeah, it's nice to be back.
It's good to be back. Congratulations to you. Congratulations as well here to Race Liberante. Breaks through, gets his first U.S. Pro Kart Series win to add to all the memorabilia behind you, man. I'm sure that was cool to get the monkey off your back and get that big KA win.
Yeah, it's definitely been one that felt like was been overdue for sure. So good to get that going and good to be here.
Well, we had a lot of news drop over the week. Big shout out and some love to a partner of the show, Leading Edge Motorsports, Greg Bell, and to undefeated in 2022, Danny Formal, 3 for 3 in his pro shifter starts. News broke over the week that Danny was going to be leaving. He got a cool opportunity to join Ryan over at the Rawlson Performance Group camp as a driver coach for them. He's going to have a part-time driving schedule on the RPG Cosmics, where that will be, where that first start will be. He has yet to announce, but we know that we are going to get to see the big man still getting out there, and it should be sometime here in 2022. So when that start's going to be, where that first race will be, that'll be announced pretty soon. We'll have some more coverage and a cool little interview we did with Danny at the end of the weekend to talk about that, but wanted to give some love to them. All love between both parties. Danny and Greg have been together off and on, mainly on for about 5 years, really, through all the partnerships they've had, even during the time he was with Anson Motorsports, and in a similar opportunity here. Got a great option with Mike Rawlson and RPG, so he goes over there. In terms of upcoming races for this week, the Cup Karts North America camp is headed to Wisconsin, following up from Road America. These guys will bring their four-cycle Briggs & Stratton 206 base series to Shawano. It is a racer-loved circuit, but it is probably about 1,000 miles too far north to be a perfect racetrack. It is way up there north of Green Bay, Wisconsin, but it is a cool facility. It's the only real racing we got going on that I know of here coming this weekend when it comes to touring series. A lot of series here over the summer had a lot of their racing heavy in June. There's the SCUSA Summer Nationals obviously coming up at the end of the month. I'm sure a lot of guys, including some of them here in this chat, will be headed to Newcastle, Indiana in a week to go do some testing over there the weekend prior. But not a whole lot of racing. But if you're looking for touring series action beyond your club stuff, CKNA is going to be up at Wisconsin coming this weekend. So diving into the race itself, though, of what we had over last week, obviously solid weekend for Ryan. The closest we've seen, I think, on 2 back-to-back days where different drivers were getting closer to you. Are you feeling the heat? I mean, how would you feel your weekend went as a whole? Obviously, good on paper.
Well, it was good on paper, and I mean, it's nice to be able to race everybody, and I think everybody's kind of catching up now. And yeah, it wasn't compared to other races, it wasn't our fastest race, but it definitely, it was fun racing with some of these like great drivers out there. I mean, racing with Marin and Diego Cantecha and everybody else, and just being able to battle with everybody. It's fun, and that racetrack's really fun. So yeah, I mean, they're catching up. I think my time's coming at some point here, so it's fun while it lasts, but yeah, you just got to keep pushing as hard as you can, because at some point, somebody's going to best you at one of these.
Well, this track, obviously, we talked about it on last week's show. Ryan, we'll come back to you. Race, you obviously had things figured out when it came down to speed over the course of the weekend. You drove through the field on Saturday after some bad stuff in the pre-final, but then in the main event Sunday, we're able to get away and stay away. We talked with Brandon, we talked with Ryan, but they're working with OTK chassis for yourself beyond pumping the tires up. Did you guys have to do anything wacky to deal with the lower level grip service that we go to in Road America?
Not anything crazy. I mean, for sure we were on a different axle than we probably usually were. It's something that we maybe start most weekends on and end up going stiffer at some point. But no, other than that, bumping the pressures was huge. Finding the right tire pressure combo from front to rear I thought was big. And then between gearing and the biggest thing we not really struggled with, but tuned in was carburation was huge at that track for us. And then the way he drove it, you just could not overdrive that track, in my opinion. So I felt like I vibed with it pretty well when I figured that out, and it's good enough.
Brandon, you obviously had some kids get up front. You had a big breakout weekend for Cameron Brinkman, which we'll get to a little bit in the second segment of the show because we want to give a lot of love to some of the support classes. They had a lot of good racing, especially the cadets, but even the juniors normally put on a good show. Kay was kind of anticlimactic, like we talked there with Race. He got away on Sunday. Lemke got away Saturday, but we saw some new faces up at the front. Some of them came from your camp. What kind of, big things obviously out of the weekend? Pressure was a big thing. I mean, you guys were up in the double digits heavy, right? Everybody here.
Yeah, I mean, that was for sure. We didn't really do anything different with kart setup than we normally do at all the other races. Pretty much just mess with tire pressure. And like Race said, it was really big not to overdrive. Whenever we had a driver that would kind of overdrive, you'd be quick for one lap and then you'd overcook the tires and then they'd be done for the whole session because of how much tire pressure you had to run. That's why I think Cameron kind of really excelled. He understood the concept of not overdriving the tire early in the race and had good tires towards the end of the race and just was able to battle for the win. Drove really good all weekend.
Track itself, too, it has a lot of different kind of sectors. There's certain places on the racetrack you drive almost differently. You have to attack turns 1 and 2 pretty heavy, and then you go to some of the sections where you're kind of a little bit easier going through. Different styles fared. Ryan, obviously, we talked about different guys being closer to you, but you could see that, and I want to play one clip before we come to you. This is from Saturday with Diego Contecha. There were definitely parts of the racetrack, especially that last sector where the hairpins, he seemed stronger. You seem stronger in about the middle sector of the racetrack, kind of coming down the hill. So we'll show that here and then have you kind of break that down a little bit for some of the viewers too.
For the kid who won here in 2020 and really introduced himself to the national scene, he's looking a little better this lap. Might be able to close up. He's going to have 1 or 2 more good shots at it. Norberg, his pace is backed off. If Contagion can force him to block, that's going to really open Pandora's box here.
I think he's maintained it well enough, but he's got to be perfect.
Being on the ragged edge here, the last bit of life for the tires. He's closed up now to 2 car lengths away. Norberg's pace faded off a couple tenths here, right when we needed it to. Contagia was almost perfect, but they'll drop into the downhill for the final time. Ryan Norberg seeing the closest thing to a challenge on a race he started from the pole, I think, since the start of this year, when we go back to the SCUSA Winter Series with Mateus Morgado and company. So finally, we're starting to see the pack start to catch up at a track he hasn't been the best at. Contagia had a look there, couldn't pull it off. Norberg, 5 for 5 in 2022 for the...
Going under that there, Ryan, obviously you can see at the end of the lap, granted, I'm sure you were going a little bit easier, but the hairpins, he looked, a little bit quicker. He could go in deeper, and then where he paid for it kind of driving that way was like from that turn 4 section on down. Break down some of that stuff of what you noticed over the weekend.
Well, in my opinion, the track breaks down into like 2 sections. I mean, you've got the uphill section, and then the rest of the track's all downhill mainly. And then more 3, I guess. And then you got like the flat last couple corners. And you do have to drive it differently. I mean, there's a lot of different driving styles. I mean, especially up the hill. Initially, I always, past years, have really overdriven those first couple corners because I thought I could get away with it. But then Hayden and Bakus both just on the data every time in that section would just kill me. And qualifying, actually, like Hayden was about, I think it was like almost 2 tenths up on me through just those 2 corners because he was backing it up a lot more than me. And then through the rest of the lap, by just me driving in a little bit deeper in every other corner, I was able to like pull that time back out. But it does break down to a different spot. I mean, it can change your gearing, especially. I mean, I think the battle for this racetrack is obviously who can go the lowest on the tire pressure and who can go the lowest on your gear. And I think that's why you saw in those last couple of corners, everybody would really attack because I think their gearing was a little bit higher. And then I would really back up that last corner because I was trying to get down the straightaway. And that really allowed me to, pull down the straight. But yeah, I mean, it's a tale of 2 different racetracks. I mean, you have to be easy going up the hill, in my opinion, and then pretty tough going down, as deep as you can without sliding off the racetrack, was basically how I drove it. And yeah, I mean, that's why everybody I felt caught me from 1, 2, 3, they'd catch. And then down the hill, I always felt like that was my strong suit. And then I felt like we're about even in the last couple sectors. And so I think that's why you saw Kremers being able to pass me in those last couple of corners because he had a little bit of an edge early in the run and then towards the end kind of fell off.
Race, what about you? I mean, you were, in traffic obviously Saturday and had to fight a little bit at the beginning of the Sunday pre-final. I mean, did you see something similar where guys were kind of on different gearing, and then that factored into to being better or worse at different parts of the racetrack?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, even like Brian just said, the way you drove the racetrack, I was doing the same thing, just driving the hell out of it through 1 and 2. And when I finally started backing it up a little bit and just whacking the throttle a little earlier, it gave me a much better run up the hill. So same thing when you watch Ryan's video right there of Kentucky reeling him in. He only reeled him in through the really just that tight left because Ryan was setting up better to get on the straightaway better. And then pull him up the hill. So it kind of evens out once he got to the braking zone and won. If not, Ryan actually was pulling away. So a lot of it was how you drove the track. You had to give up certain sections to capitalize on what I felt like at times were more important sections. I think turn 4 was one of the most critical corners on the track, the downhill left, because if you missed that corner, you just lost your whole setup down the hill. And then gearing was I think everybody was on like massively different gears. I thought a lot of it came down to your driving as well as your engine build. Because I know I was on a much higher gear than I think everybody else when I kind of got the word out of some people and what they were running. I was on the top side of that, and I know Lemke was on the bottom side of that. So both won, both had speed. So I think it was just how you skin the cat.
Yeah, which is cool, right? It's always cool when we come to racetracks like this that have a little bit of options almost, right? We're on road course racing. It's typically one line racing. You're not running different lines through the center of the corner. But when you have a track like this that has different sectors or really different setups that can win, not just chassis setup, but also mainly gearing and driving style benefiting or playing to your strengths or trying to make up for your weaknesses is cool. So we'll talk about that more along with the rest of our panel of analysts here to break down what we saw throughout the weekend on the racetrack beyond the 2 headline classes and a little bit into KA Senior as well. So stick with us, guys. KC Happy Hour. We'll be right back after this break here to talk a little bit more about the stuff going on over the weekend and, of course, the big storyline that came out of it, partially inspired by our episode last week talking about what they could do in the turns 1 and 2 chicane. Emery Lida, our analyst here on the show, was racing last week. He had, unfortunately, the honors of being one of the guys to test drive it. So we'll get his thoughts on that when we come back. Stick with us, guys.
KC Happy Hour is presented by Precision Performance Karting. PPK is the exclusive South Florida distributor for the American-made Coyote Zenith kart racing chassis. PPK is offering trackside support at all the Cup Kart South Division events, the CKNA majors, including the Spring Nats and the Grand Nats, the Sunshine State Karting Challenge, and a number of club events in the Southeast. New here for 2022 and in partnership with Brandon Jarsocrak Racing, PPK is also offering full arrive and drive opportunities in the Junior, Senior, Briggs 206 classes at the popular Stars Championship Series and the GoPro Motorplex Karting Challenge events. The same professionally prepared kart and motor package has propelled Brandon to victories at Winter Nationals and the Monticello Divisional in 2022 are available to you. In addition to the Coyote line of racing chassis, Precision Performance Karting is also a distributor for Odenthal Racing Products, Hilliard Clutches, Vega Tires, and Greyhound Racing Seats. Check out Precision Performance Karting on Facebook and Instagram or email them at ppkartingfl@gmail.com.
As the Western importer of the Praga and Formula K chassis brands, Leading Edge Motorsports is a high-performance kart shop and race team with a simple mission: teach others the joy of high-performance driving, supply our customers with the highest quality products and services, and most of all, win races. With our remarkable racing inventory, expert services, and top-ranked national-level team to back it up, we'll help to get your new kart racing package up and running fast. From arrive and drive service to kart preparation and driver coaching to the parts you need to get you back on the racetrack, Leading Edge Motorsports is the industry answer. All right, everybody, welcome back here to KC Happy Hour, episode number 50. So let's go ahead here, and I'm trying to remember which one of you knuckleheads was trying to suggest over at Road America to put a concrete wall. I don't know which, was it you, Dalton, or was it Aaron? One of you two, I think, was the one. Aaron, was that you?
I know Billy was talking about it in the chat. I wanted to put.
But I don't know. I wasn't thinking.
Sounds like a
concrete.
Braden Eves thing to say.
Yeah,
I think it was a Pauly thing.
I wanted to put a full barrier across. I didn't want a concrete, but I wanted to put a full plastic one.
Yeah, I do think Braden actually did say the concrete wall. That doofus over there, which is funny because he's the only one out of everybody we've had on the show. It's actually been really messed up by a concrete wall when he flipped it into.
Yeah.
I guess I guess he just wants everyone to go through what he went through because he had to do it. But they did not go through a concrete wall. They did not do a plastic barrier this time, which they've done something similar in years past. Aaron and Emery, I think you both have run that track when they had something over there, but. Obviously, they ran the barriers up the hill a little bit, so I'll show the track map for everybody to see. But so what you're looking at for those that didn't watch the stream over the weekend, or if you did, to lower the start-finish line of where we are, we're basically outside the last couple turns here, bottom of the hill. So they have that long straightaway up the left-hand side, goes up to that right-left chicane, and on this map of the track, you don't have any barriers up there. What they did is they started the barriers kind of at turn number 2, so that way you had kind of still time in the grass to decide if you're going to make a hard right and go back onto the racetrack or force your way into line, or if you were going to be headed up to the top left side and go around the grass, which we have some videos from. I got them a little late, so I'm going to see if I can throw them into the show maybe for a little bit later. But if you guys had to go through it, Emery, I was asking you off air before the show started because you had to go. Walk us through what was going through your mind when you had to go on that access road, miss the entire turn 2, halfway up the hill to turn number 3 sector and full four-wheel it through the dirt.
Well, so when I first did it, I realized my race was ruined as soon as I got through there because I was like, A, I've got grass on the tires. B, I've lost like 5 seconds. And that's one of the key things is because they have the barriers to where you had to use the access road on the outside, it meant that also in order to re-emerge from the outside of those barriers, it took a couple of seconds. And the way the incident came through, I could have shot the gap and tried to make it between the barrier and the curb, but I had like 3 carts on my inside that were also trying to do the same thing. TJ Coyne was across the track kind of blocking it because he had been caught up with somebody. So I made the decision, I'm running like 25th or 30th all weekend. I'm not trying to bend a chassis for no good reason. So I went through the escape road. It took a little while longer than I expected. The grass obviously didn't have much grip, and I was going super slow on it in the first place. I actually made a pass on someone through the grass that was also taking the escape road. So I came back on, got an extra spot from it. But yeah, I mean, it was nice. We came in afterwards. The chassis was completely fine from it. So that was a good thing. And I mean, yeah, it kind of wrecked my race. But at the end of the day, it's good. It was a safe alternate. And I felt like for what they had, I felt like it was a pretty good solution.
Yeah, and I checked with you, Brandon, before this. You said you were watching, you weren't sure of any of your kids going through that, but did you have a lot of runs to the Tiago chassis table this weekend for stuff just off track? Because it was rough outside there and then outside of turn number 3 too.
Honestly, no. All my guys kept it pretty clean all weekend. It seemed from where I was standing, that was like the only part of the track I could not see. But it seemed like the starts were way cleaner than years past, and you never saw someone make up like a huge gap from starting in the back from just cutting that chicane straight through. So I think the barrier system definitely did good. As long as they kept it the same from when I walked the track on Friday, and they had it right on the track that you couldn't really you had 1 cart width to cut the track, and it seemed to work really good. Way better than people just making up like 10 rows on the inside or cutting through the grass and making up 10 rows somehow. Yeah,
I mean, Race, you're a crafty veteran. I'm sure on that Saturday main event, if that barrier wasn't there, you would have been committed through the dirt, right?
What does that mean?
I'm just saying, you've been around, you know the tricks and all.
Yeah,
you know?
Listen, if it's somebody else or get through the dirt, I'm going through the dirt for sure. But I was actually surprised in my first heat. I totally pushed my bumper back on the start because I was like, yeah, we're going to drive in pretty deep there. And everybody woke up super quick. I was like, oh, crap. And I definitely rear-ended Finnegan. But everybody made it through just fine, but I was surprised at how much everybody was like actually paying attention. Like, okay, yeah, we can't go that way. That's not possible. So I thought it worked out pretty well. And in my opinion, obviously like the middle of the back of the pack in any big field is going to get bunched up. But it seemed cleaner, especially up front. It was pretty clean all weekend, I thought, for the most part.
Yeah, Dalton, you had probably the best view all weekend where you were stationed at down by turn number 1. I mean, you got to see the back half of that. What did you think of it?
I thought it worked well. I mean, like Ray said, everyone's going through a slow through it, but I mean, during the race, it got like when they were racing, and if there was an accident through there, it got kind of hairy. But I mean, I think there was like one big crash out of that chicane, but no, it was pretty clean the whole weekend. I think it was a good fix.
Yeah, I mean, funny enough, I don't remember anyone actually end up tagging the wall. I think a few kids like slowed, and then the grass kind of stopped them before they got there. So I thought it worked out. It worked out pretty good. So let's segue from that then. And before we get into the classes, this weekend was a little bit of a change on the officiating side for the U.S. Pro Kart Series on a couple different fronts. They had a few new rules, which we'll get to. Porter Wiesensetzel, their head flagman, one of the assistant race directors that helps out as well. Is shown there. I didn't have a picture of Blake Hunt, who was their new race director for the week. He's done race directing down at GoPro Motorplex for a couple seasons. They've been kind of in I wouldn't say a transition year, but trying a few new faces to keep up with the growth. And we checked with everybody on penalties. The biggest thing is Blake was adamant in the drivers' meeting that for the first time he was going to have a defined penalty for the swerving on the straightaway. So if you looked over at somebody and went at them or crowded, I don't know about crowding them down, but at least any kind of hip checks at them was supposedly an automatic 5-position penalty. I don't know, Race, if you saw anything like that when you're coming through the field or what the racing looked like, but outside of when it got a little bit hairy behind you on the Sunday main, the KA class actually seemed to behave itself a little bit better than normal of what we've seen this season. What do you think?
For the most part, yeah, I think that comes naturally with some of the tracks we go to, though. Like you go to a track like Orlando, and I mean, you go through a corner that only a hairpin that one person can fit through. It's going to cause some carnage, and this track's a little bit more open, I would say. There's a lot of room on it, so I think that promoted a little bit better racing to help. But for sure, as the season goes on, it definitely feels like that the class is all starting to maybe even just gain a little bit more respect for one another, and just not do crazy stuff like that. I didn't see it too much. I watched the live stream back, and I think, I don't know what it was, but there was one incident with Honteca and Lemke going down the hill. It looked pretty weird, but for the most part, I didn't get checked. That way you didn't see me shove anyone in a barrier this weekend. So,
yeah.
It's all
Yeah, we didn't see Angry Race come out this weekend. Brandon, you have any trips to talk to your good buddy Blake Hunt? You guys go way back. I've been tight for a little while. You give him any crap over the weekend, or anyone that you think he dinged on your group that you weren't too happy about, or didn't get dinged?
I did have one in the Saturday pre-final K Senior. Going down into the turn 4, he called a swerving penalty on one of my guys, and I think he gave him like a 15-position penalty. And he said he didn't call it though. So, but we went to protest because when I watched the video, the kid got like hit from the back, and the car went completely sideways into the guy on the outside of him, and he had like no control of his car because you could physically see he was like full on the brakes, like turning the opposite way. And I think it was just a mistake, and they reversed the penalty immediately, and there was no real questions asked after they watched the video. But I think it was just something that happened in live time. It looked way worse because there was 3 carts that flew pretty much everywhere, and I think they weren't really sure what happened at first, but then once they watched the video back, they were completely understanding.
And Ryan, what about you? I mean, well, it's easy to have no trips to the steward's office when you lead a lot of the races. No jump start penalty, at least this week.
No, there wasn't much. I mean, I thought the race directing was pretty good. I mean, I'm more towards the like relaxed race directing. Like when they're over calling, it kind of just ruins the racing. It's like it's better to be under than over. And so I don't know. I mean, I didn't have anything. There weren't really any big major stuff under our tent that happened. I think there's a few guys that got some penalties here and there, but I think it was more lack of calls sometimes. I mean, from what I kind of heard around the paddock, but I mean, like I said, I prefer it when they're more relaxed than when they're trying to interfere with the race itself.
Yeah. I mean, at least then, when race goes and buries the guy back, it's tit for tat, right? 1-to-1. That's all good.
No, to add to Ryan's point, that's the only thing I would say on they could work on is I think Blake needs another Blake. You know what I mean? Like there's so many people on track now that it's so hard to call everything. Like there's so much that still happens midfield and back that are penalty worthy, but aren't, how is the guy supposed to watch the group of 5 guys battling for a win when there's a group of 10 behind them beating the hell out of each other too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
to second that, I think USPKS is at the point where they're ready for cameras. I mean, they should be at the point that they're at a size that cameras should be pretty standard for their group, and it would legitimize the whole series just that bit more.
Yeah, it's a big infrastructure deal. I mean, it seems like they're ready in terms of people. I know earlier in the year there was not a staffing issue, but they were trying to find more qualified guys to do the officiating side for a little bit. Obviously, Blake had been doing it for a while. There's a lot of people around the country in the same boat. I know we got to go up to Badger Kart Club for the Route 66 Sprint Series, and that's a nonprofit club track that normally would run with 2 or 3 drops on the championship season. And part of racing in that club was meaning that you'd have to go work a corner and volunteer for one race to get points. And even then, people just wouldn't volunteer and wouldn't just wouldn't take points. So this year they had to up their budget and up the entry fee a little bit and pay for marshals. And still then it's tough. But at least this weekend there was more. It was, I think, one of the bigger crews that they've had on the officiating side. The USPKS structure, it's a little bit more simplified than SCUSA and Rock. They have kind of an on-track team and an off-track team that reviews it. So SCUSA will have guys up in lifts that will kind of call in incidents, and unless it's blatant, it normally instantly goes to video review, and then they've got a team of 2 or 3 overviewed by Bo Barfield, the race director, and then he makes the call if it goes kind of through, or those guys I think are powered to make it. I know Cameron Egger by name, Zach Tasker, some of those guys that are in the IMSA race control, do stuff, have done stuff in the past or do stuff with IndyCar now. Theirs is like full fleshed out deal, which is an upfront cost to the series, but the series numbers are there. The entry fees are about even now, but they had more people for sure. They had I think six off track or on track assistant race directors full time. So was good. I mean, it's a step in the right direction. Might have been a little bit under, but at least there's no big controversy out of the weekend, which is good because we've had more than enough of that, I think, for an entire year in just the first 6 months. So moving off of the crazy topics, let's talk about some of the kids that deserve some love. Obviously, we'll start with KA. Race, you were quick all week, so you were a badass. There's no question. Congratulations. Is there any other kids in that class that really kind of stuck out to you this week more than normal, or anyone that seems to be hitting their stride over the summer that's like, man, that kid's got something really special?
I think for sure everybody's got to talk about Luke Welcome. He was super fast. For the most part, the regular dudes that are always up front, Jeremy's always fast. All the other guys that always are in the top 5 to 10 were all up there, but Luke Welcome was up there. Diego was up there, which he usually just doesn't run KA much, but it was good to race with him a bit. But yeah, I mean, the regular guys were all quick, but I think Luke Welcome, I think it was one of his first senior races, and the kid was on fire. So he stood out to me.
Yeah, he was good. He was really good on Sunday. He not first time to the racetrack. He had run the SCUSA Winter Series here, which is home track at Homestead. He was pretty good there. Brandon, looking outside your camp, you watched a lot of the races. Anything else kind of notable in the KA class for you, or are we going to add Junior in too? Some of the kids that stood out.
Yeah, I definitely noticed that Luke Welcome. I was waiting for the day for him to move up to senior because he was definitely one of the tallest juniors I've ever seen in a kart, and I was wondering how he was still making weight. But I figured when he moved to senior, he'd be really good because he's got the body type for it and stuff like that, and he did really well. As far as like Ray said, everyone was kind of the normals up front. The one kid under my tent, PJ Lida, he had a really good weekend this weekend. Probably one of his last go-kart races for a little while because he's moving to Florida for work. And but he did really good. He had sort of a halfway breakout weekend. He wouldn't have messed up in the happy hour session on Friday. He would have been in a better group for qualifying and would have been able to start the races up front a little bit more. But other than that, yeah, just kind of normal people at the front. K.
Aaron, we'll let you kick off Junior here if you want to add anything more to KA, but go ahead and kick us off some of the names you got notes from for the weekend.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously, I think Brinkman was the big one. Cameron Brinkman came out, and he'd been up front. He's been competitive. but there really wasn't, he never pulled out that big win. And this was kind of the first weekend that we saw him go out there and run up front solidly both days. Got the win on Saturday, was up front Sunday. He did really well. And Max Taylor's been kind of quiet on the national level. Like, he just won the Stars race at GoPro a couple weeks ago and stuff like that. But he has been nationally, kind of quiet. And then he came out and he's still been really solid, though. I've noticed him after he started running Stars and stuff like that. And he's out there and he's doing really well. So those are the two that stick out in my mind, at least for the junior classes right now.
Yeah, no doubt. And Max has been a contender, I think, through a lot of the year. Kind of, to me, stuck out back at Homestead, was running with Doty, moved over to RPG and had been good, but finally got like a first checkered flag for a little bit. Dalton, first few of the racing over the weekend, what names kind of stuck out to you as like, wow, this kid's, having a really, really up there weekend?
I mean, in my opinion, there was just mostly the same people. Other than like race, I was really surprised by that. I was like cheering them on while I was filming that. No, I noticed Pecha and Marin. I liked watching that, like giving Ryan a really good run. But I mean, it made mostly the same people every weekend. Other than Swift. Swift was really cool to watch. They were killing it.
Yeah, we'll get to the Swifts here in a minute. We got a few clips from them. Emery, you had some other good notes from the weekend. And like building off what Dalton said, had that squish DQ not happen to Marion in post-race tech on Saturday, he would have been in the money for the weekend. So that's an unfortunate tech deal. But what did you have notes from watching it all?
Yeah, I mean, I think first off, starting X30 Senior, I mean, you saw a little bit of a mixed grid. I felt like Diego Cantecha, obviously building off of what he did in 2020 in Road America. I mean, Saturday, the final, for him to come within a couple of cart lengths of Ryan throughout the entire main was really impressive. Obviously, Marion has been up at the front for the most part this year, and I mean, his pedigree, so kind of expected to see him. But again, like put on a show in the final on Sunday in particular. Then one other name in X30 that I thought was really impressive was Tyler McIntyre, and the results aren't going to show it at all. I mean, you look at, I think he had a DNF or something on Sunday, and Saturday was kind of a little bit sort of in the midfield. But if you look at his pace throughout practice and then really on Sunday in qualifying, put it together, qualified P2s, up in the front in the second group, I believe, in the pre-final as well. So, I mean, he had a lot of good pace, and it's something that, I mean, for a guy that really we've seen on the national scale and running sort of more towards the midfield, lower midfield in the X30, for him to get sort of a little bit of a breakout weekend, not necessarily from a result standpoint, but from a pace standpoint, that was impressive. And then one last thing, I think this was Cameron Brinkman for me was the standout, like compared to what we expected. And the fact that he was able to win the overall for the weekend on X30. I mean, I've known Cameron for a while. Obviously, he's been on the national scene running micro, mini, and now in junior. And he's been up at the front at times, but he hasn't had that weekend where he's been able to put together a full weekend of constant success. And this was his opportunity. He had really good pace throughout the weekend in both X30 and KA. Don't believe he got anything done in KA in terms of winning, but certainly was running up front all weekend. And I mean, for me, this is by far the best weekend of his career. And if I had to pick one standout driver for this weekend, that'd be who I'd go with.
Brandon, we talked back kind of at GoPro a little bit because you even came over and did a bit of announcing for USPKS with talking Justin Ataconis, right? And how big the mental game is of kind of the pace comes, and then it's like you almost got to believe that you deserve to run up front. For Cameron, he's been running kind of some weekends near the front, some weekends a little bit further, 5th to 10th, some weekends up for the podium. Did this weekend, did he come in feeling good? Did you have to kind of coach him up at all? Or as the weekend went, did he start to feel like I can win,
I think he came with a different attitude this weekend. It was a different Cameron than I've been used to seeing all year. Definitely still the normal quiet Cameron that kind of everyone would know. But you could just tell he was focused on winning, and we've been doing a lot more practice, or he's been doing a lot more practice back home. Like it's kind of a surprise. He's probably only been in the cart, I'd say maybe 5-6 times this year. So that's where I think we were lacking a lot earlier in the year. He just didn't have a lot of seat time. And then over this past month, he's probably been in the cart every weekend. So I think that's what really helped. He just got his mind right. He was comfortable in the go-kart again. And we didn't have to work all practice day getting him comfortable. We were just automatically at speed. And then once we had that, we just had to work a little bit on racing and keeping his head cool. And once that happened, it was all in his hands, and he pulled it off.
Well, let's talk racing here from the big kid classes down to the kids classes. We don't give them a whole lot of love, but man, they deserved it this week. And the minis and the micros have put on a really, really good show at a lot of different races we went to. Here's the Saturday finish, which had about 9 different kids all in the group, and the Sunday mini finish, the Sunday micro finish. Crazy, crazy stuff all weekend.
I think his opportunity for a pass may come into turn number 1 unless he can pull it off. Coming up into turn 10 here, he's going to try it. He's on the inside. Harvick sees it. Does he try for a crossover? He attempts it, and it's good. Harvick maintains the lead coming into turn 11 to receive the white flag.
He'll have to block all the way down to the grass really early here. Tyler Roberts is going to get a big run up the kink. He gets a run to the bumper, goes to the outside with the momentum. Does he get clear? He does. Tyler Roberts around the outside with a big-time power move to the lead. Harvick tries to block. Palacio will stay in line behind him, and they've got to worry about if they let the 199 get to the lead. Too far out front. Tyler Roberts blocks through 4. They're going to stack up. Here comes De La Vecchia. 5 drivers lined up down the hill. Harvick puts the bumper to Roberts a little bit. They get single file again over into turn number 8.
Yeah,
last time through. Palacio. All of them lined up. Harvick finds a hole down the inside. Contact made. Still side by side in the last couple corners. Roberts gets clear. Harvick trying. Inside. Runs wide. Here comes Salvador De La Vecchia. They're 3 wide across the line. Harvick. Unbelievable.
So wild stuff there. Breaking down that finish, Ryan, you got a smile on your face. What's got you grinning so ear to ear?
Oh, that was awesome driving. I mean, from the kids, that is crazy to see that's like the next generation. I mean, all those kids wanted it. Just a group of drivers. I mean, I can't remember who was leading on that last lap, but him knowing like he was cleared, he didn't block, then he knew when to start blocking. It was like impressive. And honestly, unfortunately, like Keelan Harvick is just a little bit more, I think, mentally advanced than the rest of them. And that's why I think he kind of ended up winning both races this weekend. I mean, the work he's doing with Flip and Brent Cruz and at GoPro is pretty impressive. I mean, the kid's on a different level, but the fact that all those drivers were there and just like they just all wanted it. I mean, that was just straight. They're just going into the last corner. They were all pinned. Like nobody was lifting, and it was just like bumper cars to the end. I mean, that's awesome racing, and it's cool to see that's going to be the next generation coming up. Is going to be drivers that just want it hard.
Yeah, you talk about kids that want it and like are promising the next generation. Brandon, Marco Salmon, at least to everyone watching the big racing, kind of came out of nowhere here this year. I mean, he had been running. Do you know much of his background with Doty? I imagine out of the Northeast, right? But at his first national race in Orlando, he goes out and he wins in micro. And even this wasn't his best weekend, but he's like been on it everywhere he's gone this summer.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of his first year doing pretty much traveling out of the Northeast. He did, I think, one race at GoPro at the end of last year, maybe the last USBKS race or the IME race. I can't remember which one. But now, like he went to Orlando. He sort of dominated. He just missed out on the second day's feature, but went to GoPro, won there, and then here we struggled a little bit for pace on Saturday. We made some adjustments overnight, and then Sunday our pace was just insane, and we pretty much caught the leaders all by ourselves from like 2 seconds back. And he went for the pass for the win. Didn't make it really stick on the outside, but he had a really good move, and he came in and he was all down on himself. He was like, "Oh, I should have just stayed in second." I was like, "No, dude, I wanted you to go for the win, and like you did everything good. It just wasn't in the cards for that race." But I'm really proud of him. He's come a long way this year already, and his racecraft is coming really good. We just missed out a little bit this weekend.
Yeah, Race, you're just as much involved when you get to drive. That's kind of almost secondary here for you this year, besides putting the brand up front. You work with a lot of kids. You coach a lot of kids. I mean, you're watching the mini racing with Gage Korn. Like Ryan said, we got a lot of talent in that field. How did that look to you this week?
Yeah, I think the mini and the micros did a great job racing out there. It was impressive to watch, and I'm a huge fan of a lot of those kids. I've worked with Keelan once in his legend car stuff, and like Ryan said, that kid she's just kind of in his own level. He just does so much for the age he's at. Lucas Palacio is so young. Everybody forgets how young that kid is, but he's super impressive for how young he is. And then I'm a huge Tyler Roberts fan too. So to watch those three duke it out for the win between Harvick and him both days, down to the last corner of the last lap was awesome to watch. And even the microfield, I had a kid, Caleb Tarter, in the mix for the win both days, and he did a hell of a job, but he fell short both times. But yeah, I mean, I think the mini and micro stuff, like Ryan said, it's super impressive to see what I was doing at that age was not nearly what these kids are doing now. Like when we were in cadets, it was a lot more simple, it seemed like, and now these kids are so much better at such a young age. I'm really glad that I'm almost the master's age to where I don't have that.
Yeah, I mean, they're just, again, like even you go back to, Brandon, you spent so many years running Man Cup stuff, which was so draft heavy with the cadets and Yamaha and Comet Sportsman. I mean, we didn't see hardly any, and they tried, right? I think if anyone that watched the full racing, there would be at times the top two would get away and they would push for a little bit, but it wouldn't be like they would die just trying to work with a guy. The moment they saw that it wasn't working, then the battle started. And then, like, they've had so many last lap, like, multi-car groups. It's crazy. I think, and another thing about Tyler Roberts, too, that really stick out this weekend, like, he'd go purple more than anyone else in that class, like, time after time. And have, like, in a class where, like, you think everyone's kind of even on pace because it's slower and it's a lot of draft and we have the same tire on the front and the rear. It's a little easier to drive. Like, that kid is fast, Racy. Have you worked with him a lot? I mean, have you talked to him? I mean, he's really, really quick.
To be quite honest, I tried getting him to drive for me for a while. No, the kid's talented. I mean, he's been doing that for a year and a half or two now. I mean, every race you go to, he may not win the thing, but at some point or another throughout the weekend, the kid's going purple 2 or 3 times a race. So just a huge talent. I mean, all those kids, like I said, you can take the top 10 of them. In my opinion, there's so many good mini drivers right now. It comes down to the package just all being there. The setup's got to be right. Those things can never be overstuck. The engine package has got to be close. So I think, what you're seeing is a lot of really good kids and a lot of really good teams putting the whole package together, and it's turning into an amazing race to watch.
Yeah, I mean, playing fantasy league here with it, or fantasy team owner. Obviously, you're a team owner. You admitted you chased after Roberts for a little bit. Brandon, Samet's on your side already. You look at the mini field. Take Keelan Harvick out of it, right? Because he's had such a banner year. We can't just go with just the winner, right? That'd be like drafting Ryan to go drive for your X30 team. But what other, if you had to pick one kid out of that group right there, you'd want to pick, who would you want to draft?
I think Palacio is really good. He's always in the battle for the win, and like I think Race said, he's really young compared to everyone in the field. And I watch him race at GoPro all the time at the club races, and he's normally just on a different level. He's like half a step behind Keelan, but he's very close to just breaking out and winning almost every race. So I'd say Lucas, he's really good.
I don't even know if he's turned 8 years old yet. I know he ran micro last year, like just barely he's so small, right? I'm not. Do you know how old he is, Brandon?
I have no idea.
8? He's 8.
Is 8.
Yeah, he's 8 years. So he's got a lot of time to develop.
He's got 4 more years to be in that class.
Yeah,
so long.
He's got a lot of time, man. I think if I were to pick someone out of KA Senior to put in an X30 again, I think Alex Stanfield's a good choice. This was like his off weekend, and he was like 5th and then started 3rd on Sunday. And then you look at the other races, and like we talk about like lack of seat time, right? I think he's only shown up and just raced. I don't know if they've done a whole lot of testing this year at all. They ran the Texas Sprint Series. I mean, he's quick. Like everywhere he's gone this year, he's been like a contender. You take Fletcher off the table, right? Say he's locked up with Perry and he's already running X30 stuff, but he would be a good kid to draft up. And then, like you said, Brandon, I mean, seat time's a big deal. Brinkman was a big jump up this weekend. I feel like even Marion, Austin, some of the other guys over the course of the year catching up to you, Ryan, I think that's a factor of seat time because we talk about it a little bit about how busy you are. It's part of the reason why you're not on the show. But even when you're coaching normally other X30 juniors or X30 seniors. So you're getting like full speed seat time a lot more than maybe even some of the guys you're running against at the front. You feel?
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I think Austin for sure. I mean, Kremers has a lot of seat time. I mean, he's in the car probably as much as I am, but for sure, Austin is one of those guys where it's always last minute if he's getting put in the cart or not. And then this week he got put in a CRG. He had no time in it before that other than his previous experience on the CRG. And so, yeah, I mean, he was learning everything on the fly. And yeah, I mean, I think a lot of those guys, if you they had a lot of the seat time that I do and have the time with the team and prepping everything, I think a lot of the results would be a lot closer. I wouldn't say they'd be different, but it'd be closer.
Yeah, keep a little bit on there. Well, here we got a few questions that have come in and a few comments. We'll let to see. While we have Ryan, while we have Brandon and Race, they don't get to join us every single week for the show, guys. So make sure you send in those comments and questions here during the commercial break. We'll be back with a little bit more to answer some of those comments, pick up a few other things that we didn't get to talk about over the weekend. But for the most part, that covers a good bit for the U.S. Pro Kart Series at Road America. So any other questions and comments you got, send them on in. We'll be back after the break.
At New Gen Motorsport, we're committed to using our 10-plus years of experience and knowledge to help grow the sport of karting from the bottom up. Our goal is to make karting more accessible to the average person, lessening the financial burden of getting started, and making the learning curve as small as possible. Our passion is training and developing drivers, mechanics, and engineers to not only be the best they can be in karting, but also for careers in the much larger world of professional motorsports. A strong foundation makes building bigger easier. Let us be that foundation for your karting and motorsports career. Be part of the new generation of motorsport. Contact us today to schedule your test day, arrive and drive race event, or to inquire about how we can help get you started in your own new gen racing kart.
Kart Store USA is a kart parts supplier that racers and retailers can count on when they need reliable advice and service. We focus on servicing all racers with honesty and pride while maintaining customer satisfaction. We carry a full stock of Kart Republic and Tony Kart chassis, as well as IAMI and Vortex Rock engines. We've also got a host of other parts available and in stock, such as products from Rev Performance Materials, Jecco Racing Seats, and more. We have a 100% satisfaction guarantee, and on top of that, if your order exceeds $200, shipping is on us. Check out all we have to offer today by visiting us online at kartstore-usa.com. Looking to join one of the fastest growing kart clubs in the United States? Check out the Mississippi Karters Association. Located at the legendary Spring Ridge Raceway in Jackson, Mississippi, the MKA and Drive Your Line Kart Shop have already kicked off their 2022 year with a massive increase in drivers and some awesome racing. Even if you don't have a kart yet, you can get involved by checking out the Drive Your Line Kart Shop, which is an official dealer of Comp Kart, Tillotson, and Margay chassis, as well as Briggs & Stratton, Tillotson, Yamaha, and IAMI engines. If you're a new, returning, or current racer, the MKA and Drive Your Line Kart Shop can help you get in the seat and on the track in the central Mississippi region. Check them out online on Facebook or at misskarting.com and driveyourline.com. From 4-stroke to 100cc to 125cc and beyond, TechnoKart USA has a winning option for you. Based out of Des Plaines, Illinois, TechnoKart USA offers both chassis designed to win in all divisions of North American karting and a top-level race support program at the U.S. Pro Kart Series, Route 66 Sprint Series, select Cup Karts North America races, and both the Rock Vegas and SCUSA Super Nationals. Podiums, wins, and championships are waiting for you whenever you're ready to get on a TechnoKart. For more information, follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/TechnoKartUSA.
All right, so let's bring it back and let's talk about one comment. My favorite one so far tonight here. This is from Ace Screen Printing saying, hey, Norberg, Ryan, great showing. Didn't expect him to win, huh? When's the bounty coming out? Ryan, we've talked about this over at Podiums. What's the number? What's the number that we have to crowdfund to get you to either put a bounty for someone to just chunk you? I was down, but open the bidding. But the real bounty.
No, I think it's coming. I think it's coming. There's a lot of word around the paddock. Like you start hearing it, and it's coming soon. So whether it's when somebody's ready to just junk their race to beat me, that's when it's going to happen. So I've heard it's coming. There's a lot of people. I mean, when I come in the scales, like there's people that are like, dude, they hate you and you're going to get like packed one of these days. So I know it's coming. I'm just like being very, very cautious.
This was the real one that we were talking about though, about starting from the back here, either starting from the back in the pre-final or the final. Do you know what number would it have to equal the overall pay? Would it have to increase it? Would you do it just for fun if it meant a little less?
I would do it, but I need to convince Raleigh. Raleigh's the person I'm more afraid of. It's not like not being able to win. It's like Raleigh would kill me if I accepted that. So if you can convince him, then dude, let's do it. And Danny's got a good point. I do have a bouncer for a teammate now, so I got a little more in my corner now.
Yeah. Oh my God. Can you imagine any of you guys trying to fight Danny for him out on the scale line? Oh, good God. I don't think I would ever even want to like say anything to him.
I don't think I'd pull in.
Yeah.
I think
If
if
you had to
Ryan
face
wins
Danny,
on
you
Saturday
don't
at
pull in.
Newcastle, he's got to start in the back for the pre-final.
Yeah.
I mean, like if you win 7 out of 8, like you've already got the championship locked down at that point, and like come on.
Hey, I want to. It would be fun.
It would be good. It would be good. Yeah, I think if Danny wrecked me, I'd probably go and apologize to Danny in the scale line. Like I was I'm sorry
Exactly.
for getting,
He stalls it. You're like, I'm sorry, Danny. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean to
like
hit
my
you.
bad. I should have got out of your way. It was totally on me. I don't know. That would be cool, man. I don't even know. It sucks that we posted about like you breaking a record, right, for the number of main events in the season, because the season keeps changing. Like it's not like baseball where the number of games are the same. We can't even like tout record number of points or something in a season, which I think you'd break it down. You could cherry pick it, but we can't even give you that kind of honor because we're at 4 events for the first time. I think only half the seasons have been 4, right, Brandon? Because you've been with the series for all 10 years. Started off with 4, 4, 4, and then went to 3 in 2017. Am I right? So we went to Ocala's when it dropped down to 3, I think.
Yeah,
Right?
2017 or 2018. I don't remember.
2018.
Yeah. So, yeah, but that'd be good. Either that or I bet we could probably get a. Yeah, now we go to 5, which is big news. Also, yeah, I've totally forgot that bombshell, right? Or is there? I think that's funny to hear right after the all the series working together announcement that comes out, and then PKS says we're going 5 races and we're going in January to kick off the year. So, yeah, Brandon, why don't you have any reactions to that? You are killing me.
I have a reaction. I get to spend another week in Florida, I guess. Yay.
Yeah, we'll have a lot.
Or one less one.
Thinking,
It's one of
where
the other.
are we
Or
think?
one
Where are we
less.
thinking? Palm Beach? Is that going to happen?
It's paved. It is paved. I don't know if the
That's where
paving's
it's gonna
done
be.
yet. What do you mean it's gonna?
I don't know if
you
the
know
track
something we don't know,
offers
Brandon?
a big enough paddock for it.
Yeah.
You think it'd be Florida, or you think they'd go to Texas?
No, I think they would go Florida if
They
I
said
thought they
sunny.
already announced.
Where else is-
Yeah, I thought they
it's
already announced
Florida.
Florida for January.
it's going
Oh, I
Florida
didn't.
for
Okay.
January.
Okay,
think
gotcha.
I
It's gonna
think
be. I have a feeling it's Florida, but that's just me.
yeah,
I have a feeling
think,
Palm
like-
Beach, Orlando, and then
and then 3
GoPro
North ones.
Newcastle and somewhere else.
I think they end on Newcastle or GoPro either way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think
I don't
that's
think
a
they've ever
given.
ended off of GoPro or Newcastle.
Yeah, I think it'll end there, right? Those 2 are staples. Sounds like MCC might get a
That's
date
good.
next year.
Oh yeah,
So it sounds
They
like
would-
Rowan Cincy.
I don't
could
know what
end
their
there. It'd
paddock
be a good
situation
place
is
to
going to
end,
be because they don't have enough space right now for the pits with
Very
the number of entries that they pull. But if they upgrade that, they'd be good.
At
They are.
Cincy?
All that.
Yeah,
yeah. They
Cincinnati.
upgraded it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cincy's
Oh, they
got
did,
a lot
okay.
of upgrades they've done. Yeah, they
Okay,
cleared
very
out
good.
a bunch of trees over by the left where they did the expansion, and then they've got more space. So Cincy's been gearing up for a big race. I don't think DKC is in the conversation, but it seems like Speed Sports every year. Speed Sports, like for the last 2 years, has been like in the conversation for a date for the series. And I mean, they have enough Texas drivers. It'd be a way to kind of test the west of the Mississippi. If I were to bet, I don't know. I mean, I feel like Speed Sports would get a date before Palm Beach. I could see us go in Orlando in January. Oh, Ryan's camera died, or he kicked out. Either way, it's not 9 o'clock
I don't
yet.
think Orlando.
You don't think Orlando?
Only because you watch like the racing there was awesome, and Orlando is such a cool track. But like, man, dude, the pit setup there was rough. Like,
Yeah, that was
that
terrible.
was rough.
It was.
And-
Yeah,
Took
that
me
was
a
not fun
whole
for
week
us.
just to clean every single thing in the trailer
Yeah.
because it was so dusty.
I mean, that was tough. I mean, and as a series, I'm expecting to keep growing. They were tapped. That was it. So, I don't know if Orlando's maybe for a long-term solution, even though it's amazing race.
I don't know. What do you think, Ryan? You live over there. You're at that track a good bit.
Do you guys trust what I say is unbiased, or are you guys gonna flame me for it?
We're not going to flame you for saying you want to go sleep in your own bed. We just want to know.
Yeah,
if it
I mean,
sounds
no,
like
I
you're coming
think-
back.
Okay, I think Orlando. I mean, if you're talking about dusty, there's a lot of dusty tracks. I mean, Homestead's dusty too. They're all dusty. It's just like it depends on if it rains the week before and the dust is calmed down.
Orlando was the worst I've seen for sure.
Well, yeah, but I guess that's true because there's that big dust pile next to it. But I don't know, man. I think Orlando's good. It was one of the biggest races this season. I mean, the people came out for that one, and it's easy because it's central, so every team in Florida can go, and they're already down there for other series anyways. So it's kind of one of those where it's like, even if you don't like it, it doesn't make sense not to go there because you just get so many people. Everybody's there already, so there's no reason not to go there. Like, even Homestead is a little bit out of the way for most people because, I mean, even for the guys in North Florida, like that's a far drive all the way down to Miami.
Hey, it's at the bottom.
It's at the very bottom.
All the way. I mean, Palm Beach would be a hike. And I don't know what their paddock space looks like. I haven't been to that facility to check it out. I know they want big races for sure. They'll probably get a Rock date because Rock doesn't have a lot of venues they can touch or want to touch, it seems. I don't know. I'd be surprised if PKS made the leap to Palm Beach next year because it seems like with Mark and with Tim and all them, they kind of like use either like a feeder series, like a Route 66. Like Route 66 is going to MCC this year for the first time in August to kind of test the waters. And then maybe they'd let SSKC go there or let Rock go there first, kind of see how the event goes before they would try and pack 300 entries and however. And I would bet if they're going to do a race in Florida, I feel like they go Orlando again, make Brandon clean his tent up for the millionth time, like he should, make him work more. I'd bet Orlando, and I could see us going in like April over to Speed Sports. If Scusa goes NOLA again for Winter Nats, then have everybody go from NOLA over to Speed Sports like 2 weeks later and run Speed Sports for round 2, and then you could go MCC Newcastle GoPro to the end. Because Road America – it's always a lighter draw because it's so far up at the edge, and the club scene there is only big in 206 and sub KA and mini micro stuff. Like even this year, right? We had 300 Orlando. We were 270. No, I think we might have been 290, 270 to 290 at GoPro, and then we were 230 or 240 here at Road America for entries. So as beautiful as it is, and as nice as it is to everyone coming up there, it's an hour out to all the airports, right? Like there's the main Houston airport's 15 minutes from Speed Sports. So from that, it's good. The only issue they have with Speed Sports is car parking because the paddock has, I think, enough space for what they require for trailers. But kind of like Orlando, there's not a whole lot of car parking around. When Texas Sprint Series goes there, they normally will shut down. They have a road, like kind of like a private 2-lane road that goes around the outside of the track, and they'll make that like one side of the road's like kind of diagonal car parking all the way down. But I don't know. We'll see. It's interesting. We're starting earlier in the year, and we're adding another race to it. See if someone else goes less or goes more, but I don't know. I'm excited. I should be cool.
I also did hear
starts early.
Strictly rumor, but I did hear that Coates was interested in doing something in Vegas eventually too.
Yeah,
If that's true, I have no idea, but that'd be interesting.
You're starting something now, Race.
Oh,
Come
God.
on.
Hey, does that mean 3 weeks in Vegas now?
3 weeks in Vegas.
That's not, can we just make them all 3 in a row?
Yeah, just boom, boom, boom. Put them right in the middle. You know, I mean,
add the F1 race in.
Yeah, during the F1 race, it'll be good.
Oh my God.
Yeah, just have it as an exhibition event next to it. That'd be great.
Just a whole month of Vegas racing.
Jeez,
I think a lot of the paddock would survive a month in Vegas. I think by the time we get to Super Nats, like we'd be down from 500 entries to like 300 because nobody would make it all the way that far.
It'd all be broke, not have enough money for tires.
Nobody would be able to afford anything. The foreigners would all get deported. I mean, you hear stories every year of like some Australian or European guy like comes in, gets too banged up, and then he gets kicked out the club. That passport, he's gone. So yeah, they wouldn't make it to Super Nats then.
Just say goodbye to Marn and Dave Sarah and all them. They're getting kicked out.
Everyone's out of it.
All the big names are out.
Yeah. Dalton would have to work at Chippendales during the week to pay for his
Dalton's pit space and Ted and where he's going to sleep out of his tent's going to be on the strip, just panhandling during the day.
He's just got a tent set up, like an actual camping tent set up on the strip.
I had an actual camping set up at Utah. I literally slept in the back of the truck in Utah.
Yeah, whatever it takes, man. I don't know. Yeah, I've heard the Vegas rumor too, but that's been going around, I think, for about season and a half, 2 seasons. So
going around again. There you go.
It's going around again. That could. I
More
mean,
publicity
that's
for USPS.
It's something. They've got the momentum. It was a good weekend overall. Thanks as always, everyone, for coming on to the show. Thank you, everybody else here, for tuning in. This is going to wrap up Casey Happy Hour number 50. Rumor Mill for 2023 started, and it's July, so it's only going to get spicier from here. We will see you guys next week. Good luck to all of you heading up to Shawano, Wisconsin for the CKNA North event and for club racing all around the country. We'll be back with our live streams for the SCUSA Summer Nats at the end of the month. Until next week, this is Xander Clements here with KC Happy Hour.